Welcome to episode 13 of From A to Global Z. I'm your host, Dr. Bill Lord. Episode 12 provided suggestions for how to stay socially connected virtually, more specifically, what to consider when thinking about connecting with others via webcam. For this episode, I will discuss the possibility of applying an online communication concept that has a rich tradition and many years of practice across North American Indigenous people called the sharing circle. But before we jump in, it's Mic Talk time. This episode's Mic Talk gives a listen to a pair of stoutly built Cascade M39 small condenser mics set up using a popular XY stereo technique. The standard setup for an XY pattern is to position two cardioid mics at 90 degrees to each other, with the front of the mic capsules overlapping and as close to each other without touching as possible. This positioning delivers a clearly defined stereo image. If you want to widen the stereo effect, you can open up the angle of the mics until you achieve your desired result. Cascade is really well known for their ribbon mics, and in fact, if you take a quick look on their website, you'll notice that ribbon mics are all Cascade is currently manufacturing, and honestly, why not? They make great ribbon mics. While the M39s are not currently in production, you may be able to pick up a used pair on Craigslist or eBay for a steal, so give a listen, see what you think. They might be exactly what you need. You can probably find a really good price for them. It's been several weeks since producing my last video, as I've been busy beta testing our Phase 2 North American Indigenous Music Project content with a group of 13 to 17-year-old focus group students and the help of the University of Mexico's Organization, Information, and Learning Sciences program. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with Global Z, we're designed to discover exceptional student songwriters and musicians from highly diverse backgrounds on a global scale and then bring them together virtually to create original, commercial quality works. Through the music production process, our scholars facilitate community building and promote dialogue on concepts pertaining to value and acceptance of diverse others, civility, and creating cross-cultural friendships. We give peace a chance through music. For our Phase 2 project, we developed a safe online environment designed to facilitate the creation of friendships while promoting respect, democratic principles, community building, teaching, learning, collaboration, and having fun. One of the ways we've designed the online experience to encourage dialogue is through the use of a slightly modified sharing circle model. Sharing circles are practiced by Indigenous communities from various parts of North America. They are designed to ensure everyone has an equal opportunity to share their opinions and ideas. They ensure each voice is heard, respected, and valued. It's a powerful way to create a sense of community. To Native Americans, the circle symbolizes completeness, interconnectedness, and balance. It is whole and never-ending. If you consider in nature the sun, the moon, the seasons, even our life cycle from birth to death, these are all either circular or cyclical. The sharing circle has recognized value in both tribal communities and in learning environments. In an educational setting, the sharing circle provides a safe space of equality and a belonging where students can share their points of view. It promotes interaction while facilitating the co-creation of learning. With traditional sharing circles, one person holds an object the group recognizes as being a talking piece. Whoever holds the object is the person who may speak. Others listen respectfully and quietly with intent. No one is judged for what is said. Difference of opinion is actually valued as it's recognized that there's something to learn from another point of view. Once the speaker has finished expressing his or herself, the talking piece is passed to the person directly to the left or right of him or her, and then the cycle repeats, and the new person in possession of the talking piece, they may now express his or her opinion. And by the way, the speaker has a right to say nothing at all. It's considered to be perfectly okay. For Global Z's purposes, we've modified the traditional sharing circle a bit. Much like the traditional model, we have a facilitator who kicks things off. Our facilitator defined the subject for discussion. Let's take a look at our online environment, and if you'll notice, in Start Here, we list some instructions. And before we post the topic of discussion, we mentioned that we're working toward creating an online community, and by sharing our stories, we construct knowledge and create community. So we're establishing norms and expectations right up front. We then state the purpose of the sharing circle, which is to encourage equity of voice and provide a space where everyone's opinion is important. Next, we post a graphic representation of the sharing circle with the participants' names listed in the circle. Our instructions to use the online sharing circle are: 1. Read the question or topic. 2. Post your response in the discussion board. 3. Find your name on the sharing circle. And 4. Reply to the person whose name is listed before and after your name on the circle. One of the ways we modified the traditional model then was to have individuals speak their minds to the person who came before and after them. And we did this for several reasons. First, we wanted to get participants to communicate directly with as many of their peers as quickly as possible, as in our focus group, we only had about a week for them to engage with each other. Next, while the traditional model asks speakers not to comment on what others have said, we did not set a hard limit here. All the students were invited to have an active hand in establishing the ground rules for how discussions would transpire, and all agreed they should be able to have honest and opposing points of view or offer criticism as long as it was done in a kind and respectful, positive manner. And on reflection, I must comment the students handled these guidelines brilliantly. Also, participants in our sharing circle were allowed to communicate however they chose to, as long as it fell within the limits of community guidelines. Some actually chose not to speak at all, and this is perfectly acceptable. I will say this: when you're conducting a focus group and it's okay not to say anything, it can be a bit frustrating. After all, focus groups are designed to collect data, and if no one is talking, there's little data to learn from. And such are the ways, I guess, of the sharing circle. Once everyone's had an opportunity to speak, the talking piece returns to the facilitator. Our facilitator then closed out the circle with a short reflection on the subject matter and offered positive words to our participants. From a researcher's perspective, the sharing circle was a smashing success with a dash of frustration. Our native student musicians adhered to the community norms and were respectful to their peers and our facilitators, and the information that was shared was informative and extremely beneficial. The struggle, as you might imagine, was several participants opted not to say much of anything, which was entirely in their right. I just struggle with that because I don't have any way to gauge if the design and the content and the experience we created were of value to them. So that's driving me a bit nutty. That said, I learned many things, including that in indigenous cultures, it's perfectly okay not to say anything. The sharing circle has tremendous value, I would posit, in a number of settings, including within organizations, schools, even in businesses and government agencies, I think, and in families. And I believe the concept can be equally effective both in face-to-face and online environments. So I invite you to think about or do more research on sharing circles and perhaps incorporate them into your day-to-day activities. For episode 14, much as with this episode, I know what I would like to talk about. I'm hoping to review some ways musicians can collaborate online by reviewing one or two of the technological options that are available to you. You can currently collaborate virtually and make great music. There's going to be a learning curve involved, but the rewards can be great and the process can be a blast and very fulfilling. So stay tuned. I'm kind of looking forward to see what I actually produce for the next episode. Should be fun. Until then, stay healthy and be excellent to each other. Wishing you peace through music, I'm Bill Lord.